My name is Rohit. I will be the instructor for Azure DevSecOps. I have overall 14 years of experience into cloud and DevOps and DevSecOps. Okay. I have been working on cloud security and cloud DevSecOps for last 14 years. I have worked with different companies like Dell, Capgemini. Okay. I worked with Microsoft. I worked with HP. I've worked with Cisco. I've worked with Informatica. So there are a lot of companies that I have worked with. So here, like we will talk about all the components of Docker, different aspects of Docker, right? And we will look into Kubernetes in detail, and we will look into tools like this tool, right? Trivi. We'll look into Kubebench, okay, and we will look into Grafana, Prometheus, and all the security tools that Microsoft has to offer to secure the DevOps. So it will be a combination of two modules. Okay, one is this, and another one is this one. So here, we will give you introduction and we'll explain you different components of Linux operating system. We'll explain you what Azure is, how Azure works, right? And we'll teach you basics of shell scripting, and then we will move towards Azure Active Directory, right, where it talks about user permission, identity and access management, right. It talks about least privilege and other things, right. So this is what we will be covering, and we'll wrapping up our sessions around Azure Active Directory, and then we will understand different components of virtual machine, and we'll see what OS resizing, authentication, disk encryption, right? Disk monitoring, disk management, right? So all these things will be covered in these sessions, right? So we'll also be looking into networking part, where you will understand different concepts of networking. Plus, you'll understand what is a DDoS, what is flow logs, and what is and how you can prevent your network in your Azure subscription. Okay, so these are the topics that we will be covering. I'll teach you YAML, and then we'll move towards writing Docker files, Docker. So let me go back to the other one. So here, right, once you have basic understanding, then we will move towards module 2, okay, where you will understand what is GitHub, okay. And by then I have already taught you about Docker, right. And then we will understand what GitHub action is, right. GitHub action is an automation. It can trigger workflows, and with that workflow you can do multiple things, multiple automation, right. We'll talk about OWASP Zap, which is scanning tool. It's an open source scanning tool, right. And it will OWASP Zap, right. So OWASP Zap is something that is currently open source, right? And it is by our open source community, OWASP, right? And you might have heard about OWASP Top 10. So OWASP Top 10, so every year, right, this community OWASP comes with top 10 application level vulnerabilities. So if you go to OWASP documentation, so every year, right, this OWASP is a community where they come with the top 10 vulnerabilities every year. Okay. So if you see in 2017, these were the top vulnerabilities. In now 2021, so these are the ones. Okay. So in 2025 also, they have the list of vulnerabilities. So let's take an example of this one, where it is talking about broken access control, wherein like if you don't have a proper access to your services, to your application, right, it can be a threat, right. Cryptography failure, right, if you do not have a proper cryptography for your application. So these kind of checks we will be doing using our OWASP Zap here. Okay. So once you have application level scanning and application level understanding, we'll look into Ansible. And what is Ansible, right? How Ansible works. It is a, and then Ansible is more of configuration management tool. Okay. So we will see how Ansible works. Okay. And how Ansible can help us in making our day-to-day life easy. Or, and we'll understand what is IPsec, right? IPsec is more of, internet protocol, where we will understand what it exactly it does. And how we will configure it, how we'll do end-to-end security with IP security, IPsec. Okay, it talks about encryption and other components. Okay, and then in this module we'll do a hands-on where we will build a CI/CD pipeline using GitHub. Okay, we'll use GitHub Action. But there are multiple things, but we will use GitHub Action. Okay, once we have configured GitHub Action, we will try to integrate maybe some of the tools like OWASP and Docker, and then we'll do the complete demo of this module. Okay, then we'll move to SDLC, which is software development lifecycle, and then we'll understand SDLC, and then we'll understand SSDLC, which is secure software development lifecycle. Okay, in the development phase itself, right? How will you shift left and integrate security in the development phase itself? So we'll understand that. Okay. So we will look into different security requirements. We'll do a threat modeling analysis, right? We'll do a static analysis. We'll do a dynamic analysis, which is SAST and DAST. Right? We'll talk about OS hardening as well. OS hardening is nothing but like how will you make sure the operating system that your engineers are using in cloud are hardened, right? They don't have any flaws and they are clean and clear to use. Okay, so these are the topics that we will be covering for this module, and we'll look into security and monitoring that is there always. Okay, so a DevSecOps maturity model will understand all the path and all the ways how you can mature your DevSecOps implementation, or I would say DevSecOps journey in your company. Right, so we'll understand how we can do that, how you can implement that, how you can achieve that in your setup. Okay. So this part will be completely theory, okay, because it is more of your understanding and how you will mature it in your organization. Okay, we will understand how you will embed security into your CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so embedding security into your CI/CD pipeline is something that we will look into. We will not be doing penetration testing. Okay, this is not a penetration testing session. I've just mentioned about penetration testing here, but we will be doing a vulnerability assessment. Okay. So I will explain what pen testing is. I will explain and how it is helping our devs in the DevSecOps world, but we will do vulnerability assessment. Okay. Then in the module 4, right, we'll understand what is software component analysis, what is SCS scanning, right? And we will see what tools we can use to do a SCS scanning. Like we have Sneak, we have Checker, we have OWASP, right, dependency checker. So we'll see how we will work along with that and understand what is SCA and what is how we will see and how we will work with it. Okay. So here we have mentioned about React and NPM, but we can use any other code base and check how the vulnerability works and how we can scan that and find out in our software development lifecycle itself. Okay. So I will also be doing a demo on dependency checker and scanning third-party vulnerabilities in one of the Java code bases. So static code analysis, right? We will use, there are open source tools for static code analysis. We will use that. And like Bandit is one of them. There is Trufflehog for secret scanning, right? So we will use all these tools, and we'll do a demo. I will explain you what static code analysis is, and secret scanning and, writing custom checks and all those things. I will do everything and I will show it to you. So SAST and DAST is a must for DevSecOps engineer to know, because this is what, sometimes. So we also ask questions in interview, right? What is SAST? What is DAST? What is the difference between SAST and DAST, right? So these kind of questions come in interviews for a DevSecOps engineer. Okay, so DAST is dynamic scanning. We'll see how we will do a dynamic scanning of our application using some open source tool that can help us with dynamic analysis in our CI/CD pipeline itself. Okay, so here we have Zap and we have Burp Suite and all. So let's see if we can use Burp Suite and other components of it to do a scanning of our app code. Okay, now infrastructure as code is something that we will look into, like the Terraform part that he was talking about earlier, right? We will see how we can write infrastructure as code, right? And how we will If there is any mistake in your Terraform, if it is not meeting certain standards, how will you identify that mistake before it is getting deployed? We will look into that. Compliance as code, we'll see there are tools, like there is a tool called Cloud Custodian where you can write your own YAML scripts to define compliance as code, right? Like for example, let's say if your engineers are not writing or not giving tags in your machine, right? You define a compliance as code so that the tags are automatically added, or if the machine does not have any tags, the machine will automatically get deleted. So that is something we can define. Another example is like if you are opening 0.0.0, right, to the world, in that kind of scenario, your compliance as code will automatically run and delete that security group from the firewall rules of your system, of your Azure networking. Okay. So vulnerability management is something as a DevSecOps engineer, you need to understand. In vulnerability management, we will be looking into how you will manage vulnerabilities, what is the risk exception, how you will, reach out to your developers, how you will ask them to mitigate. There will be a lot of pushbacks from your engineers saying that, hey, we don't have time, or there is a strict deadline, we have to go with this, right? So how will you handle those kind of situation? So I will also be teaching you that in the module 9 of this DevSecOps training.